Hi everyone, thanks for watching. I'm out here on a beautiful Sunday, September morning, drinking my coffee and relaxing. I love being retired. But I want to talk about a subject today that I've been putting off ever since I started making videos. Because I've seen a bunch of, and I happen to know some teachers who left education that were high school teachers because they were being held accountable to make students proficient on standardized tests, actually teach them, get them to be where they're supposed to be in high school. But there were just facts that they could not overcome. Like they were getting students in high school that couldn't read or write and couldn't do basic math. Talking about adding and subtracting. So teaching them like algebra, wasn't going to work because they never got the elementary school education accomplished. Yet here they had somehow magically appeared in a high school classroom. And these teachers were supposed to be teaching higher writing and higher algebra and all these kind of things. Suddenly we're having to act like they were teaching kindergarten through second grade because they had to start somewhere, which means they were never going to get to grade level proficiency. And there was this music teacher. Now, I had band in school from the 5th grade through senior, and then later on went to play a bugle for the Keesler Blue Knights, an Air Force Drum and Bugle Corps out of Keesler Air Force Base, and I was a bugler. Yeah, I know a lot of you didn't know that about me. You probably didn't know that I played a trombone over on Beale Street in Memphis, in a jazz band. But yeah, the old guy did. And I don't play anymore. I'm old and I'm more concentrated on my computers and motorcycles and the stuff I really enjoy at this point in my life. But this music teacher, for those of you who know anything about music, music is based on scales and, keys, stuff like that. And you have to know the alphabet A through G, the first 7 letters of the alphabet. And these music teachers were getting students in to high school, mind you, music classes that didn't actually know the alphabet. I mean, they didn't know the first 7 letters of the alphabet. This is a pretty far-ranging fact, okay? In high school, she's having to teach the first 7 letters of the alphabet so that she can teach music in music class. Think about that. I knew my ABCs when I was 4. When I went to kindergarten, I already knew my ABCs. I already knew how to add and subtract, basic math. Could count. I could do, 2 plus 3 is 5, stuff like that. The basics. And when I went to school, I would say more than 50% of the kids were at the same point I was and going to kindergarten. Now, there were other ones that didn't, but they soon caught up because they worked with us that did. And, within a few months in school, they were at the same place we were. Now, I know in this country very well, because I'm an old man, that the inner city schools largely across this country were failures. And also some of the very poorest country schools in this country were a failure too. I know that for a fact, okay? I thank God every day that I didn't go to one of those schools. But think about this for a second. We're now having a nationwide educational failure across our school system, our K-12 school system. Due to the liberal loons in charge of our college, we have failures there too, but that's not what this video is about. I'm talking about a basic education, one that gives you enough of an education, life skills to even be able to go work in a factory or at McDonald's. I mean, how are you going to even get a job at McDonald's if you can't read? How does that work? You can't. You got to be able to use the computers at McDonald's to even work there. If you can't read, you can't use the computer. We have an endemic problem, a cultural endemic problem in our country. When you can't teach the basics of music because students don't know past ABC, they don't know the first 7 letters of the alphabet in high school. The music teachers teaching the alphabet to high schoolers. Folks, this is a major problem. People got to start being held accountable. Now, I know a lot of these schools had problems way before COVID. And our idiot leaderships who have known nothing about science, I'm starting to question their education. Even people with collegiate degrees who said, well, a mask will prevent a nanovirus from infecting everybody. A bacterial mask or a cloth mask. I mean, maybe this is the fundamental reason why we have people in charge with degrees, and I happen to have 3 collegiate degrees, okay? Saying absolutely stupid stuff. Not only the masks, there was social distancing, and we had an expert testify in the beginning of 21 saying in an indoor environment there was no difference between 6 foot and 60 feet. But yet these idiots didn't do it, and they didn't educate our kids. I think we amplified the problem. We got the schools way behind, especially the ones that were already behind. And now what I'm hearing is they can't catch up. They're behind. They can't catch up, and in what's appearing to be the case now, a lot of them are, not only can they not catch up, they're getting further behind. And the standardized scores, like they got a big high school in Baltimore, for instance, that in 4 years, not one student tested proficient for math. Well, take a look at Detroit public schools. What do you got? 5%, 6% is the highest they've ever had test proficient in math for their grade level. And that includes the elementary, middle, and high schoolers. Somehow, if we want to stay a first world country, we have to get this education problem in this country solved. Throwing money at it is not the answer. We throw a lot of money at public education in the state of Michigan, and all you got to do is look at the standardized test scores to know that's an abject failure. We have failed because these politicians thought, well, if we just keep throwing money at the schools, they'll teach. Well, no, they don't. No, they don't, folks. Money does not equal a good outcome in education. I know people don't want to hear that, but I think we ought to throw less money at change how teachers are paid and how their retirements are. And if they don't meet the goals in these districts, like the standardized test in some states is for 5th grade, if they don't meet the math goals, then not only the 5th grade teachers held accountable, all the teachers who taught math to these kids before 5th grade need to be held accountable, and they need to go out on the street. This has to stop, because you can't get kids in high school who don't know the first 7 letters of the alphabet and can't be taught music correctly because they don't know the first 7 letters of the alphabet in high school. Think about it. As a society, we're collapsing at that point. It's really apparent now that we're graduating children from high school who are illiterate, and now some colleges are talking about them getting in high schoolers into their programs at the collegiate level who are functionally illiterate. So what are we going to do about it, folks? You tell me. That's all I got for today. Bye-bye.